Just approaching 20 to 8, and it's Thursday morning, the 17th of April. Now, a Littleport man is making a film about the 1960s vision for a Hovertrain across the Fens. He's called Drew Silver. He's from Fenland on film, and as part of his research, he discovered what he thought might be an urban myth: the last remaining sections of a test track for the Hovertrain project that was built in the wilds of Sutton Galt and Erith. And BBC Radio Cambridgeshire's John Devine has a personal connection to the Hovertrain, so he went back to his roots to meet Drew.
Sutton Galt, between Chatteris and Ely in East Cambridgeshire. It's very rural and sparsely populated here, but a beautiful part of our county, because where I am now I can see the rising banks of the New Bedford, and on the other side the rising banks of the Old Bedford. I'm in like a gullet way here, like a beautiful meadow, flooded in areas, and lots of willow trees here. I lived here as a child. When I was about 12 in the early 1970s, I watched in wonderment as a strange construction emerged from the reed beds of the banks of the New Bedford River in front of me, rising up on the fen landscape. Pillars of concrete with diamonds shapes cut in them, and it was as if beings from another world were paying homage to Stonehenge. It was all very otherworldly, and I thought all traces of this structure were gone. But guess what? I was wrong. I'm joined by Drew Silver. He runs Fenland on Film. And Drew, I believe this is where the Hovertrain was based. So tell everyone, what was the Hovertrain and the Hovertrack?
That's right. We're in the presence of unique history here. You could argue how interesting can 3 lumps of concrete in the middle of nowhere be, but...
Very interesting.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Our Fenland Hovertrain, as I refer to it as, was a tracked hovercraft. It was based on the magnetic levitation and airlift principle. Tested between Erith and Sutton. They wanted about 18 miles of test track here to hopefully get a vehicle up to about 300 miles per hour.
And these 3 concrete pillars are the last remaining remnants of that, is that correct?
They're some of the last remnants here, yes. Apart from the hangar at the Erith end, they're the only sort of remaining remnants here.
And they're huge, 14 foot long, about 2 foot wide, 9 feet tall, and we believe they appeared here about 1969. The track was set up and the train came a bit later.
That's right, yes. Construction work started in 1969 and they were building the infrastructure for it sort of right through to 1970, 1971. The vehicle arrived at Erith, RTV 31, that's Research Test Vehicle 31. Tests began in December 1971, ran right through to February of 1973 when the project was cancelled.
Scrapped?
It was, yes. Although THL was a private company, it was government funded. The government weren't all that impressed with the progress that was being made. They pulled their backing.
Is it still running today somewhere in the world?
The technology was sold and adopted by the Japanese, and they are still using it today.
And why are you interested in it so much? You're only a young Andrew.
Well, I grew up in the 90s with the revivals of Thunderbirds and Stingray, the Jerry Anderson series, and in them were featured these very futuristic vehicles and this futuristic view on the world and the technology therein. And the Hovertrain is very reminiscent of that.
Yeah, I remember an episode featuring a monorail, and of course this would have been a monorail here, and if it had it worked, travelling at 300 miles an hour, so London to Edinburgh in 90 minutes?
90 minutes is correct, yeah.
What could have been?
Absolutely. I mean, even now it's got the wow factor. You can imagine what they would have been thinking 50 years ago.
And when you came across that bank and first saw these, after all this research you'd done, was it a bit like, you know, Howard Carter finding Tutankhamun in those pyramids, a bit like that?
There came over me a strange kind of silence. It's difficult to describe. I was walking along here with my dog. I already sort of had heard that there were concrete pillars in situ here. It was kind of an urban myth. I hadn't seen them for myself. I was looking down, walking the dog, and I looked up, and there were these 3 concrete pillars, and it just made the whole thing very real.
Do people know what they are, do you think? I mean, do they think it's a relic from the Cold War, or what do they think they are?
You're not wrong. The times that I've been here filming for the upcoming documentary, I've seen very few people, and the people that I have seen have assumed there used to be some sort of bridge here. All that's really here to signpost it is a rather weathered council-erected sign at the moment.
Yeah, it needs a bit of a clean-up, I think. And your Fenland on film footage, when will that be able to be seen? What's going on with that?
Working on the documentary now. 4 hours of beautiful 35mm film that's never before been seen. Hundreds of photographs and first-hand testimonies from people that worked on the Hovertrain. The trailer is due to go live on the 12th of May.
That's Drew Silver of Fenland on Film. You can find his Facebook page quite easily. Just search for Fenland on Film on Facebook. That should get you to the right place. Isn't it funny to think of, you know, there could have been this super high-speed train to take you from London to Edinburgh in 90 minutes. They were testing it right here in Cambridgeshire's Fens, and it never quite got off the ground.